Oh, right. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Kansas City. And it's a pretty damn fun card. There's 14 fights on it and a really good main event, a really interesting and compelling main event that we're going to be talking about too. And yeah, early stream today. I got stuff going on tonight, and I decided better to put out the show earlier today than doing it tomorrow. There's a lot of other shows going on tomorrow, so decided to just do an early one. And if you made it live, awesome. Thanks for tuning in. And if you can't, well, you'll be watching it back, I hope. And as always, make sure you're liking, subscribing, commenting on the videos. That really, really helps. If you're on Twitter, please like, retweet, whatever you can do. That helps as well. Nothing really to recap from last week because there was no UFC. There was MMA. There was PFL. I was away for the entirety of the last week, so I didn't really have a ton of time to tape or anything. I only had one official play on PFL. I had Impa minus 145, and of course he loses, gets knocked out in the second round. I believe it was the second, which was surprising to me, but it is what it is. I think his chin is starting to go. Possibly Impa, maybe fighting at 205 previously, might have maybe made his chin it just made it worse. It made things worse for his chin. And yeah, so that didn't work out, and hopefully we can get back in the win column for this card. And I've already got a couple bets, and I think I decided which one I'll give out for free as well. And you can get the rest of my bets, my notes, my breakdowns through my Dub Club, the link in the description of this video. And you can still join the Discord, though, for free, for the free section. That's where we talk fights and all that. So you can check that out, too. Excuse me. Might be getting a little sick. But all right, let's catch up with the chat, and then let's jump right into it. We got Irish Springy in the chat, early stream. What's up, Irish? Yep, today we're going live early. Grateful, dude. Appreciate you tuning in. Maybe we'll get a different crowd today since we're going earlier. All right, let me pull up the fights, and let's get right into it. Some of these fights I'm not going to spend a ton of time on. There's one or two that I haven't fully taped, and I'll let you guys know when we get to those, as always, and we can jump right into it. So first fight of the night, we've got Chelsea Chandler versus Joselyne Edwards. And Chelsea Chandler, she's going to be 6'3-0. She's 34 years old. She's going to be 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. On the other side, Edwards, 14-6-0. She's 29, 5'8" as well. And she's going to be at a 2-inch reach advantage, and she's 5 years younger. So this is one of the fights that I do not have much interest on. The line is kind of cooked. You got Edwards minus 280, Chelsea Chandler plus 230. And I have zero interest on betting Joselyne Edwards at chalk. I know that she's a pretty good fighter. I believe she's at Extreme Couture now. She's still only 29 years old, despite having a bunch of UFC fights. And I do think that she's improving quite a bit fight to fight. And on the other side with Chelsea Chandler, 34 years old, made the UFC debut a little late, a lot less experienced. I'm just not super high on her game. So even though she's plus 240, and I feel like the Edwards line is too wide considering she fights close, I can't really get to Chelsea Chandler either because I'm just not high on any part of her skill set. I backed her against like Joselyne Muniz, but Joselyne Muniz, I think, has no real skills. She just has a lot of power and swings wild, and I thought that Chandler could wrestle her. Now, Edwards, the grappling has always been a hole. She is somebody who can be taken down, and she is somebody who can be controlled. She has improved that part of her game a lot. We've seen that. She can use it offensively now. She can get her own submissions too. Her cardio is very good. I do think she'll have the better gas tank here. But at the end of the day, I still think she can be taken down. I still think she can be controlled by certain opponents. I don't really rate Chelsea Chandler's wrestling all that much. I don't think she's super skilled at it, but she is really strong. She is really physical, and she is pretty solid at getting women down to the mat. And I could see her, I can see her winning minutes in the cage pushing too. I know some judges don't score it, but some still do. And I think she can win minutes by taking Edwards down, controlling her, maybe throwing some ground and pound because she's got solid ground and pound. But overall, I lean towards Edwards being able to keep this on the feet, kind of just sharpshooting Chelsea Chandler, picking her apart, landing in the much cleaner strikes. And, I wouldn't be shocked if Edwards was able to get on top either, if Edwards was able to reverse. I feel like the closest I can think of what this matchup could be like is maybe Chandler's like a lesser version of Aileen Perez. Neither of them really has striking. Chandler's maybe a little bit stronger, more physical, but I think Perez is a better wrestler than Chelsea Chandler is. So, yeah, the pick will be Joselyne Edwards. Edwards by decision, Maybe a late finish when Chelsea Chandler gets tired, like my guy Jewish Better over here. What's up, brother? Is saying maybe Edwards is live for a finish. Let's look at the late numbers, what those look like. Edwards KO plus 900 isn't bad, honestly. Maybe like a late one. Edwards round 3 plus 1400. I don't hate that. What does Edwards round 3 KO look like? Plus 2800. This is all bet online, so domestics might get better lines. I'm not dying to do it, but we'll see as the week progresses. I will pick Joselyne Edwards to win, though. Next up, we've got a fun fight. We have Timothy Cuamba versus Roberto Romero. Cuamba, he's 8-3-0. He's going to be 26 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. On the other side, Romero, he's going to be 8-4-1, 25 years old, so he's going to be 1 year younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to be at a 1 inch reach disadvantage. So this is a really tricky fight for me. I'm having a hard time getting a read. Pre-tape, I was thinking Roberto Romero might be a play, and he still might be a play for me. I don't know, but I'm a little less tempted after, watching back the tape. I feel like this could possibly play out like the Romero-Patrick Lehane fight. I believe that's his name, right? Lehane? Yeah. Where Lehane kind of was able to stuff the wrestling when Romero tried to do it. He didn't really try to do it a ton, though. On the feet, Romero had a lot of success early, but then he started to slow down as the fight progressed. So the main issue with Romero is the cardio. He does slow down in a lot of fights, and it's mostly because I think it's less of a gas tank issue and more of like a gas tank conservation issue. He just goes too hard, too fast, and he's throwing a million strikes in the first round, and then he gets tired. I think he has the cardio to go 3 if he paces himself, but I think it's more of a pacing issue than it is a cardio issue. But it happens pretty much every single fight where he comes out really hot early and then he starts to slow as the fight progresses. In the third round against Onama, we saw that he did do really well against Onama, but I'm just trying to be careful and not overrate him in a loss, because how many times have we all done that? How many times has that hurt many of us in the betting community, where somebody comes in, like a Felipe Dos Santos is one that comes to mind. A Gabriel Santos is another one that comes to mind, where they come in, they look really good in their UFC debut, but they lose. And usually it's on short notice, but they make a really good showing of themselves. So then going into the next fight, they're a big favorite, and then they lose again. So here, he's not a big favorite, which I like, but he is a favorite over Timmy Cuamba, who's the one who has been in the UFC and somebody people have been really high on. When he fought Almeida, everybody was on Cuamba. He was chalked up against Almeida. I played Almeida there, and my read was that I just think that Cuamba's still very green. I don't rate his wrestling enough where he'd be taking down Almeida at will. And on the feet, I felt like Almeida was just significantly better, and I was right. Cuamba's pretty good everywhere. He's not really phenomenal anywhere. He's a good striker, but his output is just not that great. I do think that at range, he's going to be cleaner. He just throws more straight down the pipe. But the problem there is, A, the output, like I said, and B, I don't think he handles forward pressure very well. And I think Roberto Romero is a guy who fights with a lot of forward pressure. He targets that body early, and I think he's going to make Timmy uncomfortable. We kind of saw that against Almeida, where Almeida was really making him uncomfortable. The only asterisk I would kind of put there is Almeida has a ton of power, and I think after he hurt Cuamba early, that really kind of made Cuamba start to hesitate. Roberto Romero, he doesn't necessarily hit as hard as Lucas Almeida, in my opinion. He's just going to throw a lot and just do a lot and put a lot out there. So on one hand, I can see Cuamba being hesitant because of the pressure, but on the other, I could see Cuamba not struggling as much as he did with Almeida because Romero doesn't hit as hard. And then the grappling is kind of funky for me here. I don't really rate either guy as a huge wrestler, but both of them can wrestle. Both of them are decent at it, and both of them have pretty good takedown defense. If anyone's getting takedowns, I kind of lean. I don't really know. I think they can both do it. Like, my gut's saying Romero, but Cuamba can also wrestle, and he might even be a little bit better. But Cuamba, I think Cuamba's shown that he can be taken down a little bit more than Romero, and Romero maybe has shown a little bit more jiu-jitsu than Cuamba has. But I also think that Cuamba's got better fight IQ, so I would give him that. Roberto Romero makes some mistakes in there pretty often. In most of his fights, he does make mistakes. But yeah, long story short, at the end of the day, really close fight. I think the line is just about accurate. Pick'em makes a lot of sense to me, 50-50, because that's kind of how I have this fight. I lean towards Romero just because I love guys who are always on the front foot. I love guys who put out really high output. To me, that's very meaningful. And I also really like when guys go to the body, and that's something that Romero does. So while I've always been pretty high on Cuamba, well, not high, but I've liked the guy a lot. I bet on him on the Contender Series. I rooted for him. I bet on him against Oki where we lost. But I just think that I just think Romero is a little bit more likely to pull away, whereas Cuamba, even in fights that he wins, they're very close often against higher level competition. At least when he takes a step down, yeah, he really looks great. But at a higher level, he doesn't really separate. So at a pick'em line, I wouldn't have much interest on Cuamba. It would be more of a Romero side for me if I did get to a play. But Romero will be the pick. What if we start filling these out as we go? That could be fun. Let's do Edwards decision, and we'll go Romero decision. All right, next up, we've got Jaqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. Amorim 9-1-0. She's 29, 5'3" with a 68-inch reach. Viana 13-7-0, 32. She's 3 years older. She's 2 inches taller, and she's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. Crazy line on Amorim now. She's minus 800 as of this video, if I'm not mistaken, which is just bananas, but it does make decent sense. This seems like a hard fight for Viana to win. Amorim, if you want to beat her, you have to be able to stuff the grappling and make her tired, and Viana just doesn't do that. I don't think she can do that. I mean, like on the feet, I think Viana's a better striker. She's longer, she's rangier. I think she hits harder. She's not the cleanest, but her kicks are pretty good. Her punches are nice straight down the pipe for the most part. And Amorim's not a bad striker either, honestly, and she's got a pretty long reach for her frame. But I do rate Viana striking a little bit higher, but it's not enough for me to really be that interested when I know that her takedown defense is not good at all. She gets stuck on her back, and Amorim is a decent wrestler, but a really high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. I think that her control is very good. I think she can land ground and pound here. I think she can get the sub, but I would just be careful playing the sub at chalk. What is it? It's minus 165. I would be careful because I would not be shocked if Amorim came out there and was able to ground and pound Viana, maybe either from the back, flatten her out and ground and pound TKO, or from full mount. I can see that happening too, where Viana just gets tired, because that's another, Amorim I mentioned can slow down. If you can stuff her grappling, Viana slows down regardless. She just gets tired. So I think Amorim can get a later finish. That's kind of how I would maybe target it. I haven't done anything yet, but maybe like in Amorim round 2, Amorim round 3. There's a pretty big jump there. Round 2's plus 325 on Bet Online. You can get round 3 at plus 1,000. I like those. I might play a little bit of that. Just need to see if domestics will give me something a little bit better. Because can Amorim sub her in the first? Yes, she can. But I could see Viana surviving earlier. Her jiu-jitsu is pretty good in her own right. And I think if the sub comes or the finish comes, it'll happen a little bit later. And I would rather just play the round prop straight rather than round end method, because I think Amorim can get a TKO as well. So I also don't hate the Amorim TKO prop. I mean, KO TKO plus 550, but I would want a better number there. But Amorim will be the pick. And I guess let's go with round 2 submission. All right, next up, we have one of the best fights on the card, without a doubt. We have Cameron Saaiman versus Malcolm Wellmaker. Saaiman, he's going to be 9-2-0, 24 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Wellmaker 8-0, undefeated. He's 30, so he's 6 years older, going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 4-inch reach advantage. So, free bet of the week. I'm on Malcolm Wellmaker. I know that the community is split here. A lot of people like Cameron Saaiman, but I see a lot of similarities in this matchup with Wellmaker and Peyton Talbot. So it's funny because I interviewed Wellmaker I believe it was before his Dana White's Contender Series fight. I'm almost positive it was before. And I remember talking to him, and at the end of the video, if you guys want, check out that interview. It's still on my channel. It's old, but it's still there. And you can get an idea of how Malcolm thinks, because his mindset is really, really good. He's very, very focused. And at the end of that video, I was like, you know what matchup would make a lot of sense for you? Peyton Talbot. And he didn't, if I remember correctly, he didn't even know who Peyton was, but that would be a sick fight. That's how highly I think of Wellmaker. I did try to fade him on his Dana White's Contender Series appearance. I thought maybe the hype is just a little bit too much. I got Adam Bromhall at like plus 2 something, but he cooked Adam. It wasn't even really competitive. It was a little competitive. It's not like Wellmaker just blew him out of the water early. So I will say actually it was relatively competitive, but Wellmaker was able to he got his read. He saw that what Adam was doing with his entries, and he was able to kind of just snipe him and knock him out. And my guy over here is confirming what I was saying. Yeah, I misspoke early. It was competitive, but at the end of the day, Wellmaker got that knockout. I think really high of Wellmaker and Cameron Saaiman. I think he's really good too, but he's still only 24. I think that with his frame, he struggles a little bit. He's always throwing very wide, a lot of hooks. Whereas Wellmaker, he'll throw hooks and overhands too, but he's a bit more straight down the pipe, and I think he's faster and more powerful than Cameron Saaiman as well. So while they're on the feet, Saaiman has really good kicks. Maybe he can use those, and he does target the body well. But kind of how I'm imagining it is he's entering with his wide hooks, and every time he does that, Wellmaker's just going to counter and go straight down the pipe, or he's gonna angle out off and then land the counter. I just think that Saaiman's going to leave a lot of openings for Wellmaker. I think he's going to leave too many openings for Wellmaker, and he's going to allow Wellmaker to land the cleaner shots, win the minutes and the moments on the feet, and maybe even get a knockout. I know there's a lot of talk here about Cameron Saaiman's grappling and maybe him being able to use that against Malcolm, and maybe he can. Maybe he can. I can understand that angle, but I don't rate his wrestling that highly. I think Wellmaker's got solid takedown defense, hasn't been tested all that much, but from what I've seen, it seems like he does the right things. And he's also very athletic and explosive. So I don't think he's going to be easy to hold down. Maybe Saaiman can take the back, but I don't really see him submitting Malcolm. And I don't really see him being able to hold on to it for too long. I think that Malcolm will be able to get back up, get on his feet, and continue to outstrike Cameron. So for me here, it's Malcolm Wellmaker. I can understand the arguments for both sides. I think there's valid arguments for both sides. But I will say, if you're going to sit there and poke holes in Malcolm Wellmaker's resume, you should probably do the same thing for Cameron Saaiman. His best wins, Mana Martinez. Mana's fine. He's good. He's a good boxer. But Wellmaker's a much more dangerous version of that. He's a much better striker than Mana, in my opinion. And he's a lot rangier, and I think he hits a lot harder. Mana hits hard, but I feel like most of Mana's knockouts aren't his power. It's his speed, whereas Wellmaker just hits really, really hard. So yeah, that's just the last thing I wanted to add is if you're going to talk about Wellmaker's resume, you should probably recognize that Cameron Saaiman doesn't really have any good UFC wins either. And the two times that he's fought somebody good, he lost. C-Rod beat him, and who else beat him? It was Peyton Talbot. So I think Wellmaker's going to make it 3 losses in a row for Cameron, but I don't think they're going to cut Cameron. He's still a good fighter. He's an exciting fighter, and he's very young. So for me, it's Malcolm Wellmaker, and we can move on. And I do have him at -130 to win 1 unit. So that's the free bet of the week, Malcolm Wellmaker money line. Next up, we've got Damon Blackshear versus Alatengheili. Blackshear, he's going to be 16-7-1. He's going to be 30 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Haley, he's going to be 17-9-2. He's 33 years old, so he's 3 years older, 5 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 6-inch reach disadvantage. Keep having to adjust. I don't like how. Okay. I think we're good now. All right. So here, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but honestly, I do like Blackshear here. I can understand an interest in Alatengheili. He's training at a good camp at Fight Ready. They're really, really good there at preparing their fighters, at game planning, and it's a good grappling gym as well, training with guys like Henry Cejudo over there, and just really good training partners and a really good coach in Santino. But I was never super high on Alatengheili or his skills. He's a fine striker. He's a decent boxer. His wrestling is solid, nothing special, but it's solid. Doesn't have much of a jiu-jitsu game, really, in my opinion. And I just think that Blackshear is much better than him everywhere. I think Blackshear is a better striker. He's longer. He's more rangy. I think he hits harder. I think he's a significantly better wrestler. I think he's way better in the jiu-jitsu department, a lot more dangerous. I know that he didn't have the best start against Cody Gibson, but he still came through. And I don't see much of a threat from Alatengheili. Maybe he can make this close if his counter grappling has continued to improve. But he hasn't even really faced anyone like Damon Blackshear off the top of my head. And I think Damon should be fine here. I'm leaning towards Damon by decision, but I think he can sub out Alatengheili as well. Did I fill out my pick here? No, I didn't. Let's go with Malcolm decision. And here we'll go Blackshear decision. Picking a lot of decisions, but I do like Blackshear to get it done. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. Let's see. Daniel Davis, what's up, Daniel? Saying, I was thinking Edwards by finish 2. Makes some sense. Aaron saying Muniz, Smith, Giga, Randy. I like it. I like most of those. You'll wish you bet her when she might make it look easy, but I'm not in the business of betting minus 280 on Joselyne Edwards. All right, next up, we've got a fight that it feels like I've broken down this fight 10 times. It's only been once, but I'll be quick. We have Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. Gutierrez, 34 years old, 21, 5-2, 5'9" with a 67-inch reach. Castaneda, 21, 7-0. He's 33. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, but he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. My breakdown is the exact same as it was last time. I am not confident whatsoever. I lean towards Chris Gutierrez just being the better striker overall and being able to win the fight in a very close fight, but I don't have interest in laying the chalk on him when I think it's a close fight. So my main problem with Gutierrez, like, if not for this, maybe I would be interested at minus 140 because I could see him separate if not for this. But my problem with him is I think he fell into his own hype. All he ever heard was, oh my God, the leg kicks. Oh my God, the leg kicks. Oh my God, his leg kicks. It's like as if his leg kicks are like a gift from God, unlike anything we've ever seen. And I think he got to his head. And then he ends up having a 5-round fight against Song Yadong where he lands 70 leg kicks and like 7 strikes to the head. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not going to win you fights at a higher level. And you need to kind of relax with your own hype. If you go back in his fights, if you go back maybe like 3 years, 4 years, and you look at the numbers, he is throwing a lot of leg kicks, but he's mixing it up. He'll land 30 shots, 30 leg kicks, but then he'll also land like 35 shots to the head. And then as the career goes on and goes on and goes on, and this hype about his leg kicks continues and he buys into it, you see now he's landing 40, 50 leg kicks, but like 10 strikes to the head. It's great and all, but eventually, like at the higher level, and now we've seen it, it's not going to win you fights against better guys. Now, whether Castaneda is at that higher level or not, I'm not sure. I've never really been much of a Castaneda truther, but he is a good fighter. He's not bad at all. He's probably one of the better guys Chris Gutierrez has fought. Not the best, but one of the better guys. And I can see him giving Chris some problems. If Chris falls out of this BS of the leg kicks and he understands that, I need to mix this up. This isn't a leg kicking competition. I need to use my striking because he is a good striker all around. He has good boxing too. He just doesn't use it. If he comes in here and uses it, I think he can win. I think he should win this fight. Castaneda is a good striker, but I just think Chris is better. I think Chris is faster, and the leg kicks will be a weapon. And then if he follows them up with the hands, it's going to be really effective, and I think he's going to have more success than Castaneda. Castaneda's got good kicks in his own right, but I don't think he's as good of a kicker as Gutierrez. His hands are good, and he uses them more, so I'll give him the advantage in the boxing just based off of the volume and the fact that he actually uses his boxing, but I can't really give him the striking overall. I still have to give Chris the striking overall. But Castaneda will possibly have a grappling advantage, and we've seen Gutierrez, give up his back. We've seen that be a problem. Castaneda's got a good back take. He's got good jiu-jitsu. I don't really rate his wrestling super highly, and I think Chris is pretty good takedown defense, but I do think that Castaneda's got the wrestling where he could maybe land a few takedowns, steal around, win some minutes, maybe threaten some subs and win some moments as well. So I'll pick Chris, but I don't have any interest at this price, and I don't really want to bet on either guy here. It's a close fight. All right. Next up, we've got Evan Elder versus Gage Young. Evan Elder, he's going to be 9-2-0. He's 28 years old, 5'10" with the 71-inch reach. On the other side, we got Gage Young. He's 9-2-0. He's going to be 24 years old. He's 5'9", so he's 1 inch shorter, and he's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So for me here, playing with my windows too much. Okay. I'm just trying to get this straight. All right. So in this fight, I just think the line's wide. I think the line is way too wide. I liked Elder in his original matchup against Hassanzada. I did have him in a parlay there. Hassanzada is now out of the fight for allegedly he did something with children. So scumbag if true. And the UFC should definitely cut him. I don't even think he should have been signed in the first place, but that's a whole nother issue. But he should definitely be cut now. And Gage Young stepping in on short notice. He is a hometown guy, which is cool. But that's something to consider because Evan Elder does have a really good cardio. But I do think that it's dog or pass at this price, personally. I just don't really see where Evan Elder is that much better. I think Evan Elder's good. I've backed him in many of his fights. I don't even know if I've ever bet against him. I had him in that Sadyakov fight where he definitely, was on his way to winning and then gets the doctor stoppage loss, which sucked for me. I had like 2 units on him at a nice price there. But he's a guy who's very well-rounded. He's a good striker. He targets the body very well. He's very smart. He knows how to game plan. And he's a good grappler too. He's got good wrestling, good submissions. The thing is, Gage Young, he's good too, and he's pretty good everywhere as well. And Evan Elder doesn't really stand out to me compared to Gage Young anywhere. Like on the feet, Elder may be a little bit of a better striker, but Young's a good striker too. Young is very powerful. Young targets the body as well, and he's 24, so he's improving fight to fight. But I do think he's going to be competitive on the feet. We saw Evan Elder be pretty competitive against what's his name, the guy who's not very good, Genaro Valdez. And I think Gage Young can come out here and be very competitive on the feet as well, land some big shots, maybe even hurt Elder. And then in the grappling, I can see both guys getting takedowns. I know that Gage Young just got out-grappled by Salkild, but Salkild is very long and lanky. And even then, like Salkild missed on a lot of those takedown attempts, and he also struggled to hold down Gage Young. So I think Evan Elder is also going to struggle to hold him down. I think Gage could pop back up and continue to, strike with Elder. Maybe, like I said, maybe mix in his own takedown. So I'll pick Evan Elder to win. He's got the UFC experience. He's the one who's not on short notice, and he's maybe a little bit better everywhere. But I think this line is kind of off. I think you can't really go wider than Elder, like minus 150, 60%. So I think the line's wide. For me, it's dog or pass in this one. And if you guys could let me know in the comments, the live chat, if my Wi-Fi is good, because I'm getting some notifications here that it's not great. Oh yeah, I didn't enter a thing. I'll pick Evan Elder by decision, but it's dog or pass from a betting angle. Next up, we've got Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick, a crazy fight that I did not expect to see. Schnell 16-9-0, 35 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. Flick on the other side, he's going to be 17-8-0. He's 34 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. So he's going to be 1 inch shorter and at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. I mean, what is there to even say about this one? I maintain my opinion that Matt Schnell is a championship caliber fighter, if not for the chin. The chin has been his demise, but outside of that, if he had that durability, I think he could have been a champion or at least a challenger for a title, because he's good everywhere. He's a really good striker. He's a really good boxer. He's really fast. I think he's one of the best strikers in the division. And he's got some sneaky power in his own right. And his submission grappling is very good. He's very dangerous. He's a great scrambler. He can wrestle a little bit, but he's just very well-rounded. The only concern with him, and it's a major, major concern at this point, is the chin. And at this point, he has been submitted a couple of times too. But with Jimmy Flick, we have a guy who I just don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's at. I saw someone on Twitter posted, like, Jimmy Flick reposted the same picture of him running with this one guy. And if he's reusing pictures to kind of show that he's training, is he actually training? Is he like really into this? And I mean, he's retired, twice? I'm pretty sure at least once he's retired, maybe twice. I think he had to come back, make some money. But I don't know where his head is at. And I'm pretty sure Schnell retired after the Durden fight too, to be fair to Flick. But I just don't know what's up with Flick. I don't know if he's training. I don't know where he's at. That whole picture thing is a red flag. I don't know if it's 100% true, but if it is, that's definitely a red flag. And he's also got chin problems. He's also incredibly chinny. He's got really good jiu-jitsu, elite. But I mean, even Malcolm Gordon hurt him before Flick ended up winning that fight. It was here. And then against Nate Maness, he didn't get finished. Nate kind of didn't really fight with a lot of urgency and then ended up not getting re-signed after that one. So in this fight, on the feet, it's all Schnell. It's all Schnell. He's much faster, much cleaner, more powerful. Flick just not much of a striker, never really was. It's decent. It's enough to set up the takedown sometimes. But if Schnell can keep this on the feet, he should wipe the floor with Flick. He should probably knock him out. What's the knockout prop for him? Plus 160. I don't really love that, but I think he's probably going to knock out Flick. That's what I think. But do I count out Flick being able to come out here and wrestle Schnell and maybe submit him? No, I don't count that out at all because Schnell doesn't have the best takedown defense. He can be taken down. And Flick is a guy who's not the best wrestler, but he's a decent wrestler. And once it does hit the mat, he's very, very, very dangerous. And even if he's not the one bringing it to the mat, if Schnell somehow, gets tangled up in something, Flick can take advantage. I mean, the Durden sub was nuts. Pretty sure that was like a flying triangle or something. So he can really get a submission from any position. So I can't lay minus 280 on Schnell, even though I think that he does have the tools to keep this on the feet. He does have the tools to stay safe in the jiu-jitsu for the most part. And he is just a much better striker. So for me, I like Schnell to win. I like Schnell by knockout, but I don't have a ton of interest at this price. If anything, it would probably be easier to convince me to bet Flick than it would be to convince me to bet Schnell at this price. But I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to bet Flick because, again, the whole picture thing is freaking me out. Like, I don't think, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, JB. The whole doesn't know how to act on social media. Like, that doesn't sound like that's it. I think he was trying to show that he's training and he just reposted the same picture, which is kind of dumb, but he did it. Which makes me wonder, is he actually training? Because if he's not, then I have zero interest in the dog shot. If he is, then I have some interest because there's the path of him going for the takedowns and subbing Schnell, but I can't do it. So for me, it's Schnell, and we'll go with knockout round 1. All right, next up, we have Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. Aliskerov, 15-2-0, 32 years old. He's going to be 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. Muniz on the other side, 24-6-0. He's 35, so he's 3 years older. Going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach advantage. There's a time where I literally thought that Muniz would be the one to take the belt from Adesanya. I thought he was the dark horse of the division. You can probably find it in my videos where I talk about it. I used to be very, very high on him, but I'm not as high on him anymore. I worry about the cardio. I think his gas tank is not very good. I worry about the striking. His striking is decent. It's serviceable. It's enough to set up the grappling, but it's nothing special. And in this particular matchup, I think Aliskerov is a much better striker. He's much faster. I think he has more power on the feet. I think he's more durable, even though I know he's been knocked out by Whitaker and Hamzat, but that's Whitaker and Hamzat, and I don't really rate Muniz on the feet like that. So I think that Aliskerov is going to be much more dangerous on the feet. And then I think Aliskerov is also the better wrestler. I think he's more likely to be able to get the takedowns if he goes for it. I don't really see Muniz being able to take down Aliskerov. I don't know if Aliskerov wants to take him down because then he has to survive Muniz, who's a really, really high-level jiu-jitsu guy. But Aliskerov's also got good jiu-jitsu, so I think he could stay safe. And I can see him even maybe submitting a tired Muniz or knocking him out. So for me, it's Aliskerov. I'll go with Aliskerov by knockout. And let's call it the second round. But I don't have a ton of interest there in terms of the price and stuff. I mean, Aliskerov minus 500. I think he wins, but I don't really want to pay that. And then what's his KO? Yeah, I'm not paying minus 175 on his KO. If anything, I'd be more interested in the sub, but it's only plus 400. How many fights we got left? 4? 5. It's a really long card. All right. Next up, we have Randy Brown versus Nicolas Dalby. Randy Brown, he's going to be 19-6-0. He's 34 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. On the other side, Dalby, 23-5-1. He's 40, so he's 6 years older. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a, let's call it 4-inch reach disadvantage. This is a fight where, I like Randy Brown to win, but the line, again, seems a little bit wide. Nicolas Dalby is a guy who's kind of put it together later in his career. He is 40 years old, but he's still been looking pretty good. Even in that loss to Renat Fakhretdinov, he looked pretty good. He's a guy who's also not amazing anywhere, but he's good everywhere. I'd say that he's more of a striker. His striking is good. His cardio is solid. He's got good pace, good forward pressure, and he can grapple a little bit. But Randy Brown, in my opinion, is just better than him pretty much everywhere. I think Randy Brown's a better striker. He's longer. He's rangier. He uses that range really well. I love the kicks. I love the front kick to the body, the straight 1-2s down the pipe. He's got a good jab. And then he's also got some pretty good grappling, some pretty good wrestling. I think that he can take down Dalby. I think he can threaten the submissions on Dalby, possibly take his back. And I just think that overall, he's the better guy. Just at this price, I worry that he doesn't always separate. And I also worry that Dalby, if he's putting him on his back foot, he can have a lot of success if he takes away that kicking range, takes away the space from Randy Brown. I could see a world where Dalby can pull off this fight. So I don't have a ton of interest right now at the price. This is a fight that I do have on my list to retape, and I have to go back and check it out. But as of right now, it's Randy Brown for me, and Randy Brown by decision. But I can understand the argument for Dalby because, like I said, Randy Brown does fight close. I thought he beat Brian Battle. I thought he should have gotten that decision. Brian Battle did absolutely nothing in the clinch, but it is what it is. Maybe Dalby can replicate that, but I think Randy Brown should get it done. And we'll go with by decision. Next up, we have a really interesting fight, and there's been some hot takes on both sides. We have Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. Michel Pereira, 31, 12, and 0. He's 31 years old. He's 6'1", 73-inch reach. On the other side, Abus, 27, 6-1. He's 34, so he's 3 years older, 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 5-inch reach advantage. So Pereira's the favorite. He's minus 130, and I know a lot of people who really like him here. And I went into the tape thinking, like, maybe I will like him too, and I can see the angle. I can. But I'm also just not really super sold on it. Like, on the feet, Michel Pereira is really good. He's very explosive. He mixes it up really well. He's got a lot of weapons in his arsenal. Great kicks, great knees, great elbows, a lot of jumping, spinning stuff, but he's been a little bit more careful with that stuff. We talk about cardio. His cardio is not the best, but again, I mentioned it earlier in the show about somebody else. I think that it's more of a pace management issue, a gas tank management issue than it is like an actual cardio issue. It's just he spends it too early or doing stupid things. And then with Abus, again, everybody's kind of harping on the Abus cardio, saying he slows down and all that. But again, so does Pereira. But I will say Pereira probably has a better cardio. We've seen him do well in third rounds at welterweight where he had a really significant weight cut. So at middleweight, it hasn't really been tested all that much because he got 3 early finishes in the first round over Petrosky, Michel, Alexeychuk, and what's his name? Igor Poteria, my guy. And then, he got rinsed over 5 rounds against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, but that's Fluffy Hernandez who pushes a really heavy pace. So I will give the cardio advantage to Pereira. On the feet, honestly, I think Abus is a little bit cleaner. He uses that range pretty well, and he's able to use that to stay safe and land shots where his opponents can't reach him. He's got a really good kicking game. He hits really hard. I like the leg kicks. I really like the teeps to the body. And his hands are good too. Nice jab, and he follows it up pretty well with the combinations. My main problem with him is kind of the output. I don't love his output for Abus. I wish he would throw more. So on the feet, I think it'll be pretty close. I think at range, Magomedov will probably be a little bit better. If Michel Pereira can crash the pocket, close the range, get out of kicking range, I think he'll have a lot of success. But he does throw more, so I'll lean towards him in the striking ever so slightly. But then there is going to be a possible wrestling advantage for Abus here. I do think he can take down Pereira. Pereira's takedown defense hasn't been tested a ton. It did get tested against Fluffy, obviously. And if you look at the first round, it held up. He looked pretty good in the takedown defense against Fluffy. He worked the underhooks very well. He stuffed a lot of the early shots. It's just as the fight progressed, he got more tired and more tired and more tired. I just think the difference here is that while Abus doesn't have the pace of Fluffy, he's more of a striking threat than Fluffy. So he can threaten the takedowns, but then he can also come upstairs and hurt Pereira possibly, or maybe even possibly finish him. Whereas Fluffy, not much of a striker. He's just using his hands to set up the takedowns. Whereas Abus, I think, can use the takedowns to set up the hands. and vice versa. He can set up the takedowns a little bit better as well with his hands, because I think he's a better striker than somebody like Fluffy. So I can see Abus getting takedowns. I think if it happens, it'll be a little bit later, round 2, round 3. I do think there's the risk of him getting tired if he doesn't, but I don't know. There's just something in my gut telling me not to lay the chalk on Pereira. I can understand it. I am going to pick him to win. The way I kind of see it playing out is Abus has a lot of success on the outside at kicking range. Pereira crashes the pocket, lands his shots, just throws a little bit more, maybe mixes in some leg kicks. Magomedov goes for the occasional takedown. He gets a couple. Pereira explodes back up. And I think it ends up playing out pretty close, but Pereira gets the win. But because I think it's going to play out close, and I do think that Abus is the one with the grappling advantage, I'm going to probably pass. I don't think I should be betting Pereira money line. I think he gets it done, but I'm not confident in it. And if anything, I'd be more interested in Abus at like plus, I don't know, maybe plus 160. I would need my odds converter out, but that's the way I'm leaning. I'll pick Pereira, but it's dog or pass for me, and I probably won't have a play, but we'll see. It's another fight that I want to retape. All right, next up, we've got Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. Chikadze, 15-4-0. He's 36, 6 feet tall with a 74-inch reach. Onama, he's going to be 30 years old. He's 6 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. So it's dog or pass for me here. It is. I was a little bit more excited about Giga pre-tape than I was after. Because pre-tape, I was like, all right, I'm hearing all this hype about Onama's grappling, but I don't really rate it that much. So I'll probably like Giga in what I think is a striking affair. And I still kind of feel mostly the same way, because I still think this is going to primarily play out on the feet. And if it does, I think Giga's the better striker. But when I was taping it, I was like, first of all, Onama's wrestling, I still don't think it's amazing. I think a lot of it is just his athleticism and physicality. But that could be enough. And it is decent, actually. It is decent. He does do some of the right things to actually get the fight down to the mat. And his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. He's a BJJ brown belt. And with Giga, here's the thing. I don't think his takedown defense is bad. I actually think it's pretty good. And I'm watching him and I'm seeing him do all the right things. He fights the hands very well. He looks for the underhooks. I'm more worried about when his back hits the mat. Once he's actually on the ground, once he gets grounded, that's when I'm worried about him. And that's where I can see him having some problems. I can see him getting stuck. I can see Onama landing some really big ground and pound. And I can see Onama threatening submissions as well. So because of that, I'm not as excited about a Giga play. But that said, I don't rate Onama's grappling still that highly. I think that he gasses a little bit. He can get tired, especially if there's grappling involved. Giga's not really much of a pace pusher, but if Giga's having success on the feet, Onama's trying to grapple because Giga's having success on the feet, then I can see Onama slowing down. On the feet, like, Onama's pretty damn good too. Like, I was watching him, and he's good, against Roberto Romero. He's going upstairs. He's digging to the body. Then he's coming back upstairs, and he looked good, and his output is really good. He'll actually probably have the better output. But here's the thing. Roberto Romero is a stationary target. He'll move forward, but he's not moving. He's laterally. He's not, being defensively sound. Giga uses a lot of movement, and that's why his defense is very good. He's able to use that movement, land his shots, angle off, and get out of there. So I don't think that Onama's going to have as easy of a time teeing off like he did in some of his other fights. I think that he's going to struggle a little bit to find Giga, and I think that's going to frustrate him. He's going to miss a lot, I think. I think he's going to get a little bit tired from the missing, from the chasing Giga. And I think Giga's just going to be more of a sniper. I think he's cleaner. I think his kicks are really nasty. And Onama's got good kicks too, but I think Giga's a better kicker. Good leg kicks. What I noticed with Onama in the Romero fight is he just doesn't check the leg kicks at all. He just lets it happen. And Roberto Romero landed 30. If Giga's landing those leg kicks, I think he's going to do some major damage. And then he also goes to the body really well, the Giga kick, which I think is so stupid. It's just a body kick that they decided to name Giga kick when he throws it. And then he goes upstairs pretty well with the kicks too. And his hands are good also. I would like if he used them a little bit more. But overall, I just think he's a cleaner, sharper striker than Onama. Onama maybe has better pure power, but Giga's got a lot of power in his own right. So if he can just keep this on the feet, I think he has the potential to look like the favorite. And I think he will look like the favorite. But I'm just worried about the grappling. Because like I said, I don't rate Onama's wrestling super high. I do think that Giga's takedown defense is better than people make it out to be. But I do worry about Giga once he is on the mat because I don't like what I've seen. He hasn't been tested there a ton. He might have improved, but I'm just worried about that aspect of his game. Outside of that, I think he can get this done. He's fought the much higher level of competition, and this is probably Onama's best opponent to date. The only comparable one is maybe like Gabriel Santos. You can maybe argue Gabriel is better than Giga, but outside of that, I would say that this is a big step up for Onama, whereas for Giga, this is probably a step down when he's fighting, Arnold Allen. Caceres, okay, like Onama's probably better than Caceres at this point, but Calvin Kattar, Edson Barbosa, Cub Swanson, Onama's definitely better than him now, but that was 3 years ago. Even then, Cub was kind of washed, though. But for the most part, I think Giga's just fought the better guys, so I think this is a step up for Onama, and yeah, I've said all my points here. I'll lean Onama for a pick, but this is a major dog or pass for me. It's a dog that I am really considering and one that I do think I might get to, but we will see. And remember, you can get all my bets, my notes, my breakdowns off of my Dub Club, link in the description of this video, and use Couch Warrior Pod as the promo code. That'll get you 20% off. So I guess we'll fill it in like this, I guess. But like, I think Giga can get it done. I kind of want to make Giga the pick. We'll see. I might change that later. We got Pepe in the chat. He's on lunch taking a walk. What's up, Pepe? Thanks for tuning in, brother, and good luck this weekend as well. I think we line up on some plays, if I'm not mistaken. All right, next up, we've got Anthony Smith, one of my favorite guys to lose money on, because on paper, he should win these fights, against Mingyang Zhang. Smith, 37-21-0, 36 years old, 6'4" with the 76-inch reach. Zhang, 18-6-0. He's 26, so he's 10 years younger, 2 inches shorter, and he's at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So this is Anthony Smith's retirement fight. I'm pretty sure he said that himself. And it's a tough retirement fight, but I think he took it for a reason, and that reason is on paper, he can win this fight. I do think he can win this fight. Zhang is a guy who I don't know how much I rate him yet. Like, yes, he seems like a dangerous striker. He's got a lot of power. He's fast. But like all these finishes are like coming in the first round or very early. We don't really know what he's going to look like extended. We don't really know what his counter grappling looks like. And Anthony Smith, he's a guy who is a good grappler. He is a good wrestler. He can do it over 15 minutes. We saw him do it against Ryan Spann when he won that decision. I know that was some time ago, but at the end of the day, is Smith washed? Yeah. I'd say it's safe to say that he's pretty washed. Durability is not good. He's been knocked out many times, but he's a guy where I've said this before, breaking down Smith fights. I know he's been knocked out a lot, but he still comes off as pretty durable to me. He's taking all these big shots from Ryan Spann, took some big shots from Roman Dolidze, didn't get finished. And it's taking guys like Dominic Reyes, who we're seeing now is having a resurgence, is really fast, is really accurate and powerful, and a good counter striker. So he knocked out Smith, yeah, but part of me still feels like Smith is actually kind of durable. He can wilt. He definitely can wilt if he's like taking a lot of shots. He turtles up, and then it just depends on how the ref is feeling that day and how the visuals are looking. But he's not great with the visuals. But the durability is still kind of there. And I think that he can take some of these shots from Zhang. I'm not really expecting Zhang to come out there. He can come out there and just mop Smith early. But if he doesn't, I think Smith can win this fight by decision. I think Smith can win this fight by sub. I wouldn't be shocked. He's plus 375. And we just have so many unknowns on the Zhang side. We don't know what the counter grappling will look like. We don't know how he'll look extended over 15 minutes. We don't know how he'll look if someone's grappling him. So if Smith comes out here and uses his advantage on paper, he can win this. I do think he can win this, and I am very tempted on the underdog shot. I'm going to wait because I think the line will probably come in more on Zhang. I think everybody thinks that he's just going to send Smith on his way and knock him out for his retirement fight, but I kind of think Smith can get this done. I do. And for me, like I played him against Petrino. So if I did that and I rate Petrino more than Zhang, at least in terms of being more well-rounded, I feel like I need to do it here at a pretty similar price where I just have questions with Zhang. I have questions. And the truth is, even if he wins this fight, my questions probably won't be answered unless the fight gets extended. Because if he wins, it's probably early in the first, and that's going to answer absolutely zero questions of mine. But if Smith can just survive early, I think he win. I think if I'm Smith's corner, I'm telling him, dude, you go out there, you throw one jab, and then just fucking shoot. Just shoot and go for it. And if you die, you die, but just shoot. Because if Smith can get that early takedown, I think that would be really, really good for him, because Zhang's going to expend a lot of energy defending it. Zhang's going to expend a lot of energy trying to get back on his feet. But Smith is good on top. Smith has good control. And I just think that if he can do that early, I think that would be really smart. He can also do it later if he can survive on the feet against Zhang. And don't forget, Smith has some power too. Smith has some power. Smith isn't a bad striker in his own right. Zhang is definitely more dangerous, definitely faster, and maybe more powerful at this point of his career. But Smith's got some power too. I would not count him out in this fight. I would not parlay Zhang, because at the end of the day, my thing has always been like, I don't think I can ever lay minus 500 on a pure striker. I just can't. If that's their only way to win is striking, especially an early knockout, I can't get to minus 500 personally. At that point, I'd rather play something like a round 1 KO, but like, I don't really want to do that here. And I bet it's not even a good price. Zhang KO is minus 225, KO 1 plus 150. Like, I'm good. I don't need that in my life. I think I'd rather play Anthony Smith. Pepe saying he can't take the plunge on Smith. Makes sense, man. The dude seems like a shell of himself, but it wasn't that long ago when he got Petrino out of there. That was what, less than a year ago. So I think he can get it done. I will pick Zhang. I will pick him by knockout round 1, but this line to me doesn't seem right. And that's it. We're up to the main event. We've got Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Garry, 15-1-0. He's 27, 6'3" with a 74.5-inch reach. Prates, 21, 6-0. He's 31, so he's 4 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. Really, really good fight. And honestly, welterweight, in my opinion, might be the most stacked division, at least on the top end. Flyweight is really stacked, I think, on the bottom end more so. Welterweight is stacked on the top end. You have Bilal, the champion, Jack Della, Sean Brady. Who else is in this weight class? Michael Morales, Carlos Prates, Ian Garry, Venom Page. I guess he's not as much of a prospect, but still. Joaquin Buckley. Like, this is a stacked weight class at the top. Like, everybody I just listed can fight for the title. Maybe not MVP, but everybody else I just listed can fight for the title and possibly even win it. They're all potential champions. Oh, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. How could I forget him? So it's just a stacked division, and this is a really cool main event. Prates kind of riding the Fight Nerds hype right now, riding his own hype because he's had some insane performances. And Ian Garry, he is coming off of a loss from Shavkat, but it was a very competitive loss, and it was one where he looked pretty good. This might be another situation, though, where, be careful overrating somebody in a loss, but Gary's different. It's not like Garry made his debut against Shavkat, had a good performance, but lost. Ian Garry made his debut a while ago. I think it was 2020, has looked really good throughout his career, and then took a really big step up against Shavkat and made a good showing of himself. So I think it's a little different there. But this one, it's really tricky because on one side, you have Ian Garry, who lives, breathes, and sweats training. He trains all day. He trains every day. The dude is very, very focused, and he's 27 years old. He's still young, and he's really, really good, and he's still improving, and he's just very well-rounded. He's a very smart guy. He fights very smart, and he travels a lot in terms of like going to different camps, which I really like for young fighters. And on the other side with Prates, you have a guy who, yeah, he's really good. Yeah, he's got the aura. Yeah, he's got all the physical gifts, but he's partying a lot. He's partying a lot. He's smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's almost a pack. And I can tell you this, I smoked my last year of high school. I smoked about a pack a day, and I also wrestled. That shit affects you 1,000,000%. 1,000,000% it affects you. I can speak out of my own experience, And that was wrestling, which is hard on the gas tank, but I think MMA is harder on the gas tank because you also have striking. And cigarettes will mess up your cardio. They just will. It's just a fact of life. There's no like it. The only way I'll believe that there's people out there who it doesn't affect is if Prates goes out here and fights 25 minutes and is fine. And I would be really surprised if he can, because I'm not comparing my athleticism. I'm just saying like how is saying that smoking affected me in wrestling comparing my athleticism to Prates? Like, I don't think athleticism is the same thing as your gas tank being screwed by cigarettes. Like, it's cigarettes, you know? And at the end of the day, like, I'm still picking Prates to win this fight, but my point is, from my own experience at least, smoking cigarettes will mess up your cardio. It just will. It's a fact. You're smoking. You're literally putting tar into your lungs. Like, it affects your cardio. It just does. So far, it hasn't hurt Prates very much. I mean, he hasn't gone to a decision since like 2019. In those decisions, he did slow down, but to give him credit, he looked still. He held together. He didn't really completely fall apart. There were a few where he did fall apart a little bit, but for the most part, you know, he's held together in the more recent decisions that he's gone to. The Luciano win was pretty good. I know Luciano just got kind of embarrassed by Storley, but I still think he's a good fighter. And for an early fight there, that was pretty good. But let's see. Your subjective experience means very little to pro athletes. Maybe, man. Maybe you're right. I'm just saying that's how I feel, and that's a concern of mine as somebody who has interest in Prates here and is picking him to win. But I don't know. Like I said, we'll find out. And if he does hold together, if he doesn't knock out Garry, but he still is in the fight in rounds 4 and 5, then yeah, I'll have to adjust and have to understand that maybe high-level athletes can smoke and do their sport. But I don't know. For me, at least, it was definitely very much affected me. And I had good cardio back in the day. Maybe not like these athletes, like Pepe's saying, but yeah. Let's see. What else do we got going on here? Had pro players smoking and drinking during games. Yeah, maybe. I don't know enough about the cardio requirements for other sports, but I imagine something like soccer would be very hard if you smoked. For you, John Schultz, it's greatest all time. Yeah, but does coke affect your cardio? I'm like talking specifically about cardio. I don't know enough about coke to tell you if it affects cardio or not. Obviously, it didn't affect John Jones, but my assumption would be it doesn't. That's just my guess. I just can only speak to cigarettes. Yeah, I don't think cigarettes can help for sure, but maybe Pepe's right in that it won't affect a high-level athlete, but I personally think it will. That's my feeling. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Quadruple threes is saying, however good that athlete is, there's no case to. Yeah, like I personally think that it does hurt. May not be a problem for him. Yeah, that's my primary point. my primary point was that Garry's not smoking. Garry's training, and Prates is smoking, and Prates is partying. He's also training. He's also training for sure. I just think Garry's more focused. So that's a concern of mine as somebody picking Prates to win. I am going to worry about it a little bit, because if I'm going to put my money on Prates, of course I'm going to be a little bit stressed that he's banging out 15 bogeys a day. Like, I think that's a valid concern. But outside of that, let's talk about the rest of the fight. I think that the thing with Garry is that he doesn't really separate. And maybe that's because he's fighting high-level guys, but even some of the lower-level guys that he fought, like, he didn't really separate all that much. And Prates is a guy who will land big shots, is super dangerous, and he will solidify rounds with those big shots. He's just going to be more effective of a striker. He's just going to hit harder. And because of that, with Garry not separating much and Prates probably separating quite a bit on the feet, I wouldn't really want to lay chalk on Garry. I know some people are saying he can grapple Prates, and maybe he can, but I think it would have to be later. I think early on, Pratesh's takedown defense is good. He is a long, lanky guy. He's got a very funky frame, and I think that's going to be good for him in terms of takedown defense. He hasn't been tested a ton by good grapplers, but he stuffed like 7 attempts from Magny. I know Magny's on the older end of things, but he did stuff them really well. He did all the right things. That's what I kind of look for. And Garry, he's a good wrestler. He's not the best wrestler, though. So I think if Garry has wrestling success, it's gonna be later. Whereas, yeah, that's my point. I think if he has wrestling success, it'll be later, and I just don't see him really having a ton of it. I think maybe in rounds 4 and 5 he can do it if Prates does indeed slow down, but he's got to get there. He's got to get there. On the feet, it's really interesting. I think that Garry's a very good striker in his own right, very accurate, very clean, straight strikes. Mixes it up well, good kicks too, but Prates is just a different beast. I mean, this guy is something else. The Trevin Giles fight is a little concerning. Like, he started pretty slow and kind of just let Giles have his way early. But once this dude gets his reads, I mean, the way he's just angling off and countering in the Leech fight, my God. Like, he made the Leech look like a regional guy. And the Leech is good. The Leech is good, but he made him literally look like a regional dude. He just completely cooked him on the feet. Like, he's just landing his shots, angle, and then just counter. It was so good. Like, this dude is an animal. And I know he's 31. He's not like the youngest prospect in the world, but he does still seem to be improving. Like, you look at his fights, he does seem to be getting better still at this point. And he's just so nasty on the feet. Like, the knees are so good. I love the knees. I love the kicks. I think he has more weapons and tools on the feet than Garry. I think he hits harder than Garry. He's got more substance to him on the feet than Garry. And I definitely think he's the one who's more likely to get the knockout. Garry doesn't show me a ton of power. He's fast and, he can catch you clean, but Prates definitely hits a lot harder. There was one other point I wanted to make. Oh, and I also do have some concerns about Garry's durability. He has good recovery, but I don't know that you're going to have the opportunity to recover with Prates. That's kind of the concern. Like, you look at Garry, I remember I was there live for the Jordan Williams fight. Jordan Williams had him wobbled. He got really wobbled by Song Kanan. I remember that one. I had Garry ITD that barely hit. So I do worry about the chin. If those two guys are hurting you, I know it was earlier on in his career, sure. But again, those guys are a far cry from Carlos Prates, who's just a different beast. So for me personally, I think Prates is going to win. I am going to pick him to win the fight. I don't know the method. Like, this is where it gets hard, right? Because if I'm picking decision, I'm trusting him to bank the first 3 rounds and then just keep it together. If I'm picking knockout, I'm picking what makes sense, but I'm having just a hard time actually visualizing Garry being knocked out. I guess because it hasn't happened, but I'm having a hard time actually seeing it happen. So I'm picking Prates, but I'm having a hard time seeing exactly how it goes down. But I think I'll lean towards, let's go with Prates. So he doesn't, I think he needs time to get his reads. I'm going to go with round 2. I think he'll start a little slow. I think Garry might, look pretty good early. And then I think Prates is going to start to just let it rip. And I think he's going to look pretty damn good. And I guess I lean towards him finding the knockout. Let's see what we got going in the chat, because somehow my cigarettes affected my wrestling. Has started a whole war in the live section. Let's see. People arguing about cocaine versus cigarettes. This is a crazy discussion for 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. I guess we're gonna have to study if cocaine affects cardio. Uncle Wheezy saying, oh yeah, what's up, Uncle Wheezy? Saying cocaine is not a performance enhancer. Anyone who thinks that has never done it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about it in sports, but Pepe saying on top of it, fucking your heart rate up, you aren't sleeping either. Yeah, that's like a straight addict though, but I guess that would fit the John Jones example then. All right. Pepe calling for Prates sub, maybe thinking something like Gene Silva last week, where everybody was saying Gene Silva by knockout or Bryce decision or sub, and then Gene gets the sub. I guess it can happen, right? A front choke or something. That can happen. I'll lean towards knockout, but again, it's one of those weird fights where I think Prates wins. I can't tell you exactly how he does it though. That's where I kind of struggle, but I think he's gonna get it done. Wouldn't be shocked if Ian Garry got it done. I think there are some things here that do definitely, favor Garry. I think the 5 rounds favors Garry. I think that the grappling favors Garry, and I think that the fact that he's the one who's just seems a little bit more focused, it favors Garry. But still, I feel like Prates is just different, and he's going to be too much on the feet. I think he's really something special, and the way he did the leech was just nuts. The way he did Magny was nuts too, but like Magny's really on the tail end of his career, so it's like okay. But I thought the leech one was more impressive for me, and that's it. That is the main event. Let's see if there's anything else here. Aaron saying I have an open ticket left with Patty, Volk, Chelsea, and Abus. Chelsea Chandler? Oh boy. Well, if it hits, you're gonna hit nice. I remember I did some jits. I did some before jits. You did what? Cocaine? Why would you go a live stream and say that? Let's see. Patty round 3 was plus 800. Gene Silva round 2 sub. That's crazy. It was plus 5,600. All right. Well, that's it, guys. That's UFC Kansas City. I'll run through my picks one more time, and then we'll get out of here. So we're going to go Edwards. We're going to go slight lean Romero. We're going to go Amorim, Wellmaker, and he is the free bet of the week. We're going to go Blackshear, Gutierrez, Elder, but dog or pass, Schnell, but dog or pass, Aliskerov, Brown, I guess Pereira, but dog or pass. I'm not confident there. Onama, but dog or pass. Zhang, but dog or pass. And Prates. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you guys next time, and good luck this weekend.